Welcome back to this week's edition of That Handicapping Show. We'll be looking at a strong Arlington Million Stakes this Saturday at Arlington International Racecourse. Here with Ellis Starr, National Racing Analyst for Equibase. And Ellis, it's 7-horse field, but it's a fascinating field.
Yeah, actually it is, Frank. I'm really excited about it. You kind of sometimes think you have a race in which there's a strong contender and it's really tough to get by him, but in this case I think we have a chance here. I'll talk briefly about Magician, and this is our Equibase race of the week. I went into some detail as well in my written analysis as to why I think he might be vulnerable, not only at low odds, but when you look at him last year when he won the Breeders' Cup Turf, he came into the race off a 9th place effort in the St. James, and of course he added Lasix for that race, and that was good. And then he had a nice win a couple later in the Mooresbridge Stakes. But his last race, after 2 Group 1 runner-up finishes, his last race, that 6th place finish in the King George and Queen Elizabeth, I looked at it on video, and I can't, for the life of me, figure out what excuse he could have possibly had. The only plus here is he's adding Lasix again, but he opens at 7-5, and I think that makes for a very good betting race because, especially, and no knock, but Joseph O'Brien, I'd much rather some of the other horses that Aidan O'Brien is running on the card. He's using Ryan Moore. And using O'Brien here, even though he rides well for his dad, still can be a little bit of a liability. He's a big kid. So I'm going another way here. I'm going to start with Smoking Gun. He comes back off a nice runner-up effort in the Singapore Airlines International, a Group 1 race back in May. I watched it. He closed very well. No way to catch the winner, Dunboyne Express, in that race, but he really closed nicely. And Stéphane Pasquet, who's ridden him in all 14 of his races, including 5 wins, rides him. He's Group 2 winner in Europe, which means Group 1 in North America, so he should fit very well in this race. The other contenders in the race are Up With the Birds, who opens at a decent price, a career best race last time out, winning the Nijinsky Stakes, a Grade 2 race at Woodbine at 1 1/8. He only has to go another 110 yards here. And that got a career best 119 Equibase speed figure. So he's a 4-year-old, and I think he's still got some improving to do here.
That is the horse that I landed on. I love the improvement. The last couple starts, he's run his 2 biggest Equibase numbers. And that last start, he was eased in the final 1/8 mile. So the 119 could have very easily been much higher. The horse is a smooth runner. He's amazing to watch. He wastes no energy early on. He's just the smoothest of runners. And when he was set loose, he really opened up. He then didn't pull away from the field like you would typically see, but he wasn't being asked. So I give even extra credit to that previous start. I think he's a horse on the improve, and he is the horse I landed on. Yeah, you do have to look at Magician, a 7-5 morning line favorite. I don't know that he'll go off that low, but maybe he will. He's shown that he can bounce back last year in the Breeders' Cup Turf where he came in off a 9th place finish. But I also thought that previous effort, there was just something flat about it. The effort before that, the Prince of Wales where he lost to the Fugue, was a huge effort. So maybe that took a little bit out of him and he's going to have to round back into form. I definitely can't take those odds. I won't be shocked if he wins, but I can't take those odds. I don't think he's head and shoulders above this field.
Well, it's best to try and beat him. My 3rd pick in the race was Real Solution, who won last year on a DQ, but he might have won anyway. Of course, the stewards felt that way. And to put that in perspective, back to Up With the Birds and put them all together, Up With the Birds, that 119 figure last out. Real Solution got a 120 figure winning last year, so that's about what it takes to win this race. And Real Solution got back to a 120 after 3 pretty bad races following last year's win when he won the Manhattan at Belmont. On Belmont Day, he got a 120 figure, so he's back in that kind of form. So I definitely think a 3-horse box here between Smoking Gun, Up With the Birds, and Real Solution, since we're kind of on the same page, is warranted here. I also want to mention, of course, that Real Solution was flattered. The Manhattan's become a very important race with K-Gun coming back 2 races later to win the Play the King last weekend, and also with Seek Again winning the 4-star Dave.
Yeah, Real Solution is my 2nd pick. I thought he benefited from a very hot pace in the previous start, but he's already shown that he doesn't need that every time. Right. I wouldn't be shocked if he wins, and I think he hits the board. And I think what we're both saying is Magician has the potential of not even being in the top 2 or top 3. That makes all the vertical horizontals interesting plays here. The exactas, the trifectas, I think they all have potential. Again, I won't be shocked if Magician wins, but as a gambler, you're just looking for some advantage each time, and over time, those advantages play out. Smoking Sun is my 3rd pick as well. One interesting thing about that race is Smoking Sun and Side Glance who will be breaking from the outside in this field. They both got in the clear in the Singapore race at the same time, and Smoking Sun pulled away from Side Glance. So, and Side Glance has had 2 starts since then. Maybe he's a different horse, but just seeing that kind of told me I would rather take Smoking Sun than Side Glance, just based on that little bit of information, but sometimes that's all you have.
So it looks like we have the same exact end trifecta box here, pretty much.
We might have to go in together this week.
It's going to be a great betting race. Well, there's one other race on the card I can mention really quick, if you don't mind. The St.
Well, it's one other race on the card that you're interested in.
I'm interested in.
There's a lot of great races at Arlington.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Right, it's a great betting card at Arlington. But another race to talk about really quick is the St. Ledger, which is the 7th race on the card. And I like a horse named Eye of the Storm. You don't see this very much. This is another Aidan O'Brien trainee, but the opposite of Magician. I like this one. This one's ridden by Ryan Moore, and he just won a race in Ireland, in Leopardstown, the great Group 3 Ballyrun Stakes on August the 7th. So he's coming back on 8 days rest off a win. He won it a mile and a half on soft. I just think that's a heck of a move. He's 6-1 here, so I'm going to take a shot with Eye of the Storm. Maybe even a single in my pick 3 or pick 4 as part of a really good all-stakes pick 4.
Ellis, is it my understanding that Equibase a few years ago made their speed figures match up with the European speed figures that we see listed?
That's one of the things that they did when rescaled the figures. You made them a little higher than the buyer figures on average, and they should match up very well. There is a website, the Chef de Race website by Steve Roman, that does have a comparison sheet. When I compare those numbers, like as a matter of fact, I wrote one down here, the 114 time form figure that Eye of the Storm got is equivalent to a 110 Equibase, so it's very close.
Very close. So that's useful if you're looking to compare some U.S.-based horses against some European shippers this week, which there's going to be quite a few of those at Arlington Park. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Frank. This is Ellis. We had a good time and have some winners this weekend.